Saturday marks 20 years since the September 11th attacks. Almost 3,000 people were killed after terrorists hijacked 4 commercial airplanes, 2 targeting the World Trade Center in New York City.
And in the hours and days after, first responders and volunteers flooded the scenes to help. One of those, American Red Cross volunteers from right here in St. Joseph. KQ2's Kylie Thomas with the story on what this local volunteer remembers from Ground Zero 20 years later.
Carla Duncan was like many of us on the morning of September 11th, 2001, watching in horror as planes turned into missiles. The difference is Carla was at Ground Zero 4 days later.
I immediately knew that I would be going.
20 years ago, Carla, a Red Cross volunteer from St. Joseph, did something incredibly scary in the days after 9/11. Got on a plane and headed to New York to help with a man-made disaster.
This was not just an accident, it was something more.
For a month, she called New York City home, where she would feed first responders looking for hope in the towers of rubble.
When the rescuer would come off the pile with his animal, we could feed both of them, give them a chance to have some respite so that then they could go right back to doing what they were there to do.
And try to console the desperate families who would never find the answer to the question printed across every inch of New York City: have you seen them?
I had people walk up to me and show me pictures and say, have you seen them? I mean, they were so desperate to find somebody, and unfortunately we all know the outcome of that.
1 year later,
There's the number 1 train.
Carla went back to New York alongside a KQ2 reporter documenting the 1-year anniversary of the September attacks.
I think it really hit me just as I knew we were landing at LaGuardia, that I was back in the city that had been so tremendously affected, and where I had met so many great people and where I'd worked hard and felt like we'd accomplished a lot.
2 decades have passed, and Carla can still remember the sounds, sights, and smells of one of the darkest days in our nation's history.
All of the sky was filled with planes and helicopters that were kind of protecting New York because we didn't know what else might happen.
And while she hopes America never has to see a day like 9/11 again, Carla wishes the 20th anniversary will remind us all of the power of unity.
Looking at where our nation is today and where we were 20 years ago, that was a horrible event, absolutely horrible. But the one thing it did was it brought us together. We weren't Democrats or Republicans, we weren't Christians or Jewish, we weren't black or white. We were all Americans, and we all just banded together. And I wish that we could just find that again to bring us back together.
Reporting in St. Joseph, Kylie Thomas, KQ2 News.
Carla still serves with the Red Cross as a senior disaster program manager. She says she hasn't been able to make it to the 9/11 memorial yet, but she does hope to make so one day.